See, you can turn your life around. Permission, you don't need to change. You can turn your life around today. See, you can turn your life around. Permission, you don't need to change. You can turn your life around today. Passion leaving out your skin, it's bleeding. Took your love for your love away. Big contagious, time for the fear vaccine. Be your own inspiration today. See, you can turn your life around. Permission, you don't need to change. You can turn your life around today. See, you can turn your life around. Permission, you don't need to change. You can turn your life around today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the City Council Forum on Culture and Arts for Brooklyn Districts 37, 38, 42, and 47. I am Melanie Green. I'm an artist and director of programs at New Yorkers for Culture and Arts. We are a cultural advocacy organization fighting to ensure a vibrant space for culture and arts for all New Yorkers. And I'm currently coming to you from Choctaw and Chachamacha land. I am a Black woman. I have curly tendril cascading from the crown of my head. I'm wearing a patterny dress and Black earrings. So tonight we have ASL interpretation as well as closed captioning. If you are in the Zoom platform, you should be able to click on the CC on the bottom of your frame if you need access to that. So the chat is open for folks, both in Zoom as well as for our YouTube audiences. Welcome. We just ask that you please be kind. No hate speech in the chat. But what we do welcome are insightful thoughts, questions, and ideas that may come up during the forum. I would like to take a moment to thank our New Yorkers for Culture and Arts team for really supporting these forums and the marathon that we have run in them. And so a special shout out to Lori Berg, Lucy Sexton, Tara Sheena, Regine Peters, Matt Chilton, and also to our partners for this forum, Brooklyn Star, Cora Dance, and Arts House, as well as all the participating organizations who have all supported to make this evening possible. We will list those names in the chat. This evening, your moderator for this forum will be Catherine Mbali Green Johnson, Founding Director of Arts, East New York. Now, before we get started, I know you're all excited to hear from the candidates, I know I am, just wanna let you know that we have two more forums coming up, one for Manhattan Districts 7, 9, and 10, which will be on May 20th, and then also a Queens District forum that will happen on May 27th for districts 19, 20, 27, and 31. So if you would like more information on those forums, or if you would like to visit or see any of the forums that we have previously done, you can go to www.ny4ca.org/advocacy, and you can take a look at the archive. Now, without further ado, I will pass it to Catherine. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Melanie. It is great to be here. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the City Council Forum for Districts 37, 38, 42, and 47 on Culture and Arts, hosted by the New Yorkers for Culture and Arts, in participation with Arts House Schools, Cora Dance, and the Bushwick Star. My name is Catherine Mbali Green Johnson, and I'm thrilled to be here this evening. I'm going to begin with an accessibility check-in and give you a brief description of myself as well as a visual description. So I am, let's see, I'm a Black woman and I have sister locks. They are dark brown. They're pulled back in a bun with the right side hanging in a bang. I also have on a really bright African print top. It has bright royal blue flowers with a bright yellow gold background. In the back of me, you also see a pink curtain, and on the right side of me, you'll see a glass hexagon terrarium that has white rocks and green succulents in it as well. I am also want to acknowledge that my pronouns are she, her, we, us, and I'll also acknowledge that we are on the land. Currently on the land of the Lenape-Hoking territory, and also currently known as New York City area. To get things started, we'll begin by saying that the COVID-19 pandemic has disproportionately impacted cultural organizations, cultural workers, and artists. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, the arts and cultural sector generated $110 billion in economic activity for the New York City area, with a workforce of over 300,000 people. For the city to bounce back, it needs a strong cultural sector. And today we're excited to hear from our Brooklyn City Council candidates about their views on the arts, culture in our city. Just a reminder that this election will use a ranked choice voting. So instead of casting a single vote for a single candidate, voters in a ranked choice system select a set number of candidates in order of preference. We'll put the links in the chat for further information. This evening, we'll ask candidates questions from the New Yorkers for Culture and Arts candidate questionnaire. We invite each candidate to take 30 seconds to say their name, their pronouns, provide a visual description, just as I had done, and 1 or 2 sentences about their history with culture and arts. After that intro, each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond to a question. And if time allows, we'll do a follow-up question with each candidate. If you'd like to know more about the candidates' responses to the questionnaire, they'll be posted on the New Yorkers for Cultural and Arts website. The URL will be posted in that chat. The chat is open, so we're encouraging all candidates to converse with guests. While we can't promise to get to every question posted in the chat, we encourage the discussion, and we'll be monitoring it both in the Zoom here and on YouTube. So please be respectful with all your comments in the post. We also want to let you know that the order of the candidates and questions that will be asked tonight have been chosen at random to ensure fairness. So let's get things started. All right. So first up, we have, 1 second. First up, we have on our list from District 37 and 38, we have Jackie Painter. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, hello everyone. Thank you all so much for having me today. My name is Jackie Painter. I am a queer woman from Red Hook. I'm going to describe myself now. Light skin, blonde hair, glasses, got the earrings on. Yeah. And I'm so honored to be here. I am and my pronouns are she, her as well. I'm sorry I missed that. And I'm so honored to be here today to discuss culture and the arts. I have been an activist and community organizer my entire life here in my community. And this community, District 38, is very privileged to be the home of Cora Dance. So thank you so much for Cora to being one of the partners of this forum. I have a deep connection with the arts, not just my last name, Painter, but growing up, I always wanted to be an artist, and I never really found an outlet or the support needed for a viable career, is what people would say. And art literally saves lives. And it's so important during this pandemic that we make it a priority so that our youth, our elders, and everyone in between have that connection to culture
Okay.
now more than ever. Thank you
Thank,
so much.
thank you so much, Jackie. So I'm going to ask all the candidates we're going to ask the question first, and then we'll go into your 30-second introduction, and then you go into answer your questions. But thank you so much for your intro, Jackie. So I'm going to start to ask your first question. So healthcare is a pressing issue for individual artists, cultural workers, and small cultural groups without resources for major coverage plans. This impacts disabled artists, workers, and organizations, in addition to many people suffering from the effects of COVID. In communities hardest hit by COVID, health outlets are closing. For instance, in Brownsville, Brooklyn, there's been a recent closure announcement of a longstanding family and women's health clinic. What is your plan to address the healthcare needs of the city's many communities? That question is for you,
Yes.
Jackie.
Thank you so much for the question. I have spent the last 5 years working to expand Medicare and Medicaid with organizing in this community. And something that I support is the New York Health Act, because we really have a problem with accessibility for quality healthcare throughout our entire city. And what you just said is that women's health clinics, LGBTQ plus health clinics, and clinics for immigrants, especially undocumented immigrants with language access, are very important to the city and are lacking in resources and funding throughout the city. Here in our district, we only have about 2 solely women's clinics and no LGBTQ plus health clinics. I think that that is a shame. We need to make healthcare more accessible and more well-rounded to fit the needs of every very unique individual of our district.
Thank you. And if you can also, you have a couple more seconds here. Oh, are we good? Oh, the timer just went away. All right. So thank you so much for your answer, Jackie. We're going to move on to the next candidate. All right. So next up, we have Rodrigo Camarena. And if I mispronounce it, please let me know. All right. We're having... Oh, I'm sorry. So Rodrigo is not here. My apologies. So next up, we have Alexa Aviles. All right.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Alexa. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me here tonight, and thank you for all the sponsors.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. So we are going to start with you. I'm going to start with your question, and then you'll take 30 seconds to introduce yourself. You again will introduce yourself with your name, your pronoun, and a visual description as well. And then you can go into answering your question, which you'll have 90 seconds to respond.
Great. So my name is Alexa Aviles.
Hold on 1 second, Alexa. So I'm going to ask the question first,
Oh.
and then you'll go into your introduction. Thank you. I know it's a lot. So no. So in the COVID crisis, arts and culture were the first to close, and much of the sector will be the last to reopen at full capacity. More than 50% of artists and cultural workers remain unemployed. This is a sector where workers are 3.6 times more likely to be self-employed. Freelancers, gig workers, and mixed income earners. What is your plan for getting the city back to work, particularly in the hardest hit sectors? What kind of workforce development programs do you envision that would provide access to communities of color and people with disabilities? Now, Alexa, if you can go ahead and introduce yourself in that 30 seconds, and then go ahead and answer the question in 90.
Great. My name is Alexa Aviles. I use she, her pronouns. I have brown curly hair, sun-kissed brown skin because I've been out canvassing, and I'm wearing a blue tank top with silver earrings. Um, uh, I am a Brooklyn native, Boricua, a mother of two beautiful daughters. And I am proudly running to represent District 38. And I have been working in this community for over 2 decades. And I am just honored to be here to work on so many issues that affect us. In terms of the question, I think in order for the arts and culture community arts and culture is the heart of any thriving community. It's the heart of thriving families. As a Boricua, knowing how important our drum is, how important our songs are for healing, for thriving, for celebration, for everything. The way our city will be able to move into recovery for the arts and culture community is really to invest in it. To not do the austerity thing, which is what the city has done. It has truly starved so many parts of our community. And when there has been funding available for arts and culture, we've seen it has not been an equitable funding. So first, we need to recalibrate our funding and ensure that communities of color, that disabled community members, that communities who are most marginalized have access to the full resources that they will need so that their artists can thrive and be integrated into everything. So if we do not support that community, we will not recover as a community because we know arts and culture is vital for health. So in addition to funding, I think we need to ensure that the city provides full contracts for the human service organizations, right? That covers their general operating expenses in full. I'm at
sorry,
time.
Alexa. Yeah, time is up.
Okay,
It goes
thank
quickly.
you.
Yes.
I know it goes quickly and I'm trying
Thank
to
you.
talk slow.
Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate you. All right. And we have up next, let's see, Sandy Nurse. Is Sandy here? Yes. How are you, Sandy? You're on mute. That's like the tagline of 2020. I'm telling you. Welcome,
Hello.
welcome.
Hi.
Welcome, Sandy. So we are, again, I'm going to read the question to you. Then you will have 30 seconds to introduce yourself, which will include your pronoun and a visual description. And then you'll have 90 seconds to go ahead and answer the question. So Sandy, as of March 2021, just 4% of shuttered creative businesses have returned to normal operations. The federal relief offered by the shuttered venues operators, shuttered venue operators grants will only help an estimated 10% of the creative economy. Micro businesses, i.e. the sole proprietors, artists, or small artist-led organizations are particularly vulnerable. This is a huge loss for our city's economy, where the creative sector generates $110 billion in economic activity. Arts and culture have led the recovery efforts in the past, enlivening the hollowed out industrial neighborhoods in the 70s and bringing back downtown after 9/11. What do you foresee as the role of creative economies in supporting economic recovery in New York City, particularly in communities most affected by environmental, housing, and health instability due to COVID, including our aging immigrant and working class communities of color? And Sandy, you can start now.
Okay, should I do my introduction?
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Sandy Nurse. I'm running in the 37th district. I'm an Afro-Latina. I'm light skinned. I have a fro that I'm trying to grow out. I got a red lip on and a white shirt. And I go by she, her. So thank you for having me here. And just to get right into your question so I don't run out of time, arts and culture workers are so important to New York City's history and future, and artists are going to truly activate New York City this summer in a way I don't think many of us are really ready for. And they are going to help us ease out of the isolation we've been feeling. And so it's very, very important that we support and protect arts and cultural spaces through funding and permanently taking them off the private market and putting them into non-speculative forms of ownership. I have a lot of direct experience with this. This is why I co-founded Mayday Space, which was created as a home for social movements, community empowerment, and culture. Mayday started as an intervention to create an institution that prioritizes a community-run space for all our activities, quinceañeras, arts and cultural programming, skills development, and more. And really in a city where every square foot is a premium, it is essential that we protect and expand our social and cultural spaces as sites of connection, meeting, relationship building, building local power and healing. And just one other thing to mention is we really need to protect our freelance workers. Many artists and cultural workers are freelance workers. And so supporting the right of gig workers to organize, extending sick leave and unemployment benefits to freelance workers is hugely important to me, particularly as someone who has worked as a freelance carpenter for years without healthcare. So artists and cultural workers deserve the same labor rights as all workers. And just like I will be fighting for the rights of undocumented workers and app workers, I will also be fighting to support you as artists and culture workers.
Wow, 30 seconds to spare, but thank you so much, Sandy. We appreciate you being here this evening. All right, so we are going to move on to our next candidate. Let's see, we are speaking now with Christopher. Yes. Hi, Christopher. Christopher Dorosini. Did I pronounce your name correctly? All right, awesome. So nice to meet you. Glad for you to be here. And again, just to let you know the format. So you are going to take 30 seconds to introduce yourself after I ask the question, and that will be your name, your pronouns, and then you will give a visual description of yourself. And so I will begin by asking you, Christopher, data shows that neighborhoods with cultural assets have improved outcomes in everything from education and aging to community well-being and safety. Yet nonprofit cultural organizations often lack resources for long-term stable locations in the city's fluctuating real estate market. And artists and cultural workers need affordable live workspaces. What is your plan for creating healthy, stable communities? How do you envision enlivening vacant commercial and city-owned spaces? And Christopher, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Christopher Simi. I am a Nigerian American. I have a blue blazer, checkered blue shirt with a white back and yellow curtain. What it comes down to, and it always has, is funding. It's an atrocity that culture is afforded less than 1% of the city's discretionary budget, both in capital and expense. Funding opportunities for culture and arts has always been critical. And we saw that more during COVID, where people had to close their doors and lay people off. I've had the distinct opportunity with working for multicultural organizations, both large and small, to ensure that resources were shared, resources were available. And the recognition that communities of color make up the largesse of the essential workforce of many of these institutions and are unionized. I will say, to answer directly to the question, back in 2018, or 2017 rather, the Department of Affairs created a cultural plan that addressed many of these issues that are earlier.
Christopher, if you can hear us, your sound is breaking up. If you can hear us.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh,
I think there's like a little lag.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So just back in 2017, DCLA created a cultural plan that many of the issues that cultural communities face, including residency, artists build communities that people want to flock to, especially in communities like Brownsville, Bushwick, East New York. However, once created, much like the residents who have lived here and like talking about the housing issue, just quickly, when you're undesirable, they have when the neighborhood becomes popular. I'm saying is that we need to really.
So I think we should, I'm sorry, Christopher, if you can hear us, it's really hard and whatever you're saying, it sounds great. We'll move on to the next candidate and maybe we can give you another minute to come back and to answer your question again, Mr. With the sound is really off. Is that okay, team?
I'm off video.
All
Let
right.
me get off video for a second.
Awesome.
Does that sound better now?
Oh, that sounds great. I'm just gonna leave it to my team to give me a thumbs up on whether we can answer your question again. I haven't heard back from them yet. Give me 1 second, Christopher. Okay, yes. So Christopher, can you start from the top? I'm really apologize. It's just really choppy.
No problem. No problem. Again, Mr. See me.
It's still no. Yeah, we apologize. We're going to move to the next candidate, and so hopefully you can work the internet out, and we'll come back to you. Okay. Thank you so much. All right, and next up, the next candidate that we have is okay, great. So Rick is here. Rick Echeverria. Echevarria. I'm sorry. My apologies. I read it too fast.
How you doing? Thank you for inviting me to be here.
Thank you for being here. So Rick, how the panel will work is that I will ask you a question. You will take 30 seconds to introduce yourself, and that will include your name, your pronoun, and a visual description of yourself as well. So we'll include things like, the color of your shirt, etc. Anything you want us to know for those who may be here that are visually impaired. So if you could just do that, and then you will go and you will have 30 seconds to introduce yourself, and then you'll have 90 seconds to answer the question that I'm going to ask. So the question for you, Rick, is the city has a qualified legion of teaching artists totaling over 4,500 educators. Yet 67% of New York City principals stated that funding for the arts is generally insufficient. Currently, New York City does not meet the standard state mandates for arts in every public school. Yet arts education in school has been shown to improve academic and social emotional outcomes for students, especially when provided as an integrated part of the curriculum. What is your plan for the city's school system, and what is your vision of the role that arts in education plays?
So my name is Rick Echevarria, and I have the proud distinction of being the only member of city management during the de Blasio administration to be a whistleblower on the issue of affordable housing corruption. I'm a lifelong resident of Bushwick, a longtime housing activist, and I am running for city council because I am determined to bring housing justice to District 37 and across the city of New York. My response to the question is that I would advocate for significant increases in the cost of funding, which funds arts in the schools and has significant dual benefits. One, it provides art education in the schools, and two, it employs independent contractors, artists, in order to do that work. There are actually two programs funded by the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, one that gives direct grants to artists that I think I would advocate to significantly fund as well. So I think that's where, as a city council member, I can be most effective in supporting and enhancing not only the work of artists, but the role of arts in our public schools.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Rick. Can you, just gonna ask a follow-up question. Can you also just explain to us how you would do that? What would be the plan in distributing those funds? What would that look like?
Well, funding comes through direct through the arts councils, right? I think that there are significant areas where we could tap into resources and funding. As a recent article or op-ed, a piece in the New York Post indicated, last year alone, we wasted almost $1 billion in fraudulent contracts through the Department of Homeless Services. Our city agencies, this particularly our administration, has a significant problem with corruption, negligence, and the administration of city funds. So I'm hoping that the next administration would not look anywhere near like this one, and we can capture some of those resources to invest in artists and in arts in public schools.
Thank you so much for that, Rick. All right. So we are going to try and get Christopher back on to answer, to complete. Do we have him on audio?
I think we have Chris.
Awesome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
You're on, Chris.
Okay, great to hear. Using my phone now.
Oh, great. That sounds much better. All right, Christopher.
Okay.
Do you need me to restate
So
your question?
No, it was essentially creating hubs with regard to storefronts and spaces for artists. Am I correct?
Right.
Okay, perfect. So again, for the record, my name is Chris Dorsini. Accessibility check. I am a Nigerian American with a blue blazer, blue and white checkered shirt, and a white background with mustard colored curtains. My office was doubled as my daughter's nursery. What this has come down to and always has is funding. It's a shame that culture is afforded less than 1% of the city's discretionary budget, and even less so when we talk about capital funding. Funding opportunities for culture and arts has always been critical and continues to be critical. We saw that more than ever during the COVID crisis, when people had to close their doors, lay people off, while at the same time quickly pivoting to provide programming to communities like Brownsville, East New York, Bushwick, and the like. A tagline that was employed during this time was that culture never closed, and it didn't. Communities of color make up the largest of the essential workforce of many of these institutions and are unionized. Back in 2017, DCLA created a cultural plan that addresses a lot of these issues. Sukasa, residencies, things of that nature. Artists build communities that people want to flock to. But much like the housing crisis that we face, people have moved in these communities when it wasn't quote unquote sexy or desirable, now have to pack and leave when they do become popular, increasing rent and everything. We need to revisit the proposed cultural plan, update it for the times that we're currently living in, and really put teeth behind it in terms of funding within the city's budget. DCLA has one of the smallest agency budgets and one of the largest portfolios, which is preposterously crazy. I think as we move forward with regard to recovery, culture now seems to be at the forefront, and not just in partnering with other organizations and whatnot, but also the city fully investing in arts and culture the way that they need to, equitably, especially in terms of the economic output that culture and arts institutions provide to the city of New York.
Right. Thank you so much, Christopher. I'm glad we were able to get you on and complete your statement. Appreciate you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Technical difficulties and all.
Exactly. All right, family. So we are going to take a 5-minute break. You can grab your water, stretch, whatever you need to do, and we'll come back to complete our questions with districts 42 and 47. See you guys in 5 minutes.
pain, it just ain't right. Hey, supply and pain, got a life supply. A warehouse full of lies and crap. Gotta sell it out, get rid of that. Hey, supply life. Life. Yeah. Oh, supply life. Life. Death, destruction, overstyle. Guns and wars, God style. A warehouse full of pain and death. Time to change direction and stop the mess. Whoa, supply life. I said life. Supply life. Life.
Yeah, gotta supply life. Live right, sell to our people. Equal chances to get supplies of life. Only subdivides, we be high up life. Yeah, to supply life for the low. Fresh out of the negatives and low blows. But the world grows and we all show some ups and downs, but we all gon' pull up. Pull up, got love, stop. Pull up, restock your needs. No charge, no fee, supply your needs. What you don't see, life supplies these.
Life and love on the loading docks. When we run out, we will restock. Focus full of happiness. It's time to change direction and stop the mess. Whoa, supply life. Life. Supply life. Hey, I said life. Yes. Oh, supply life. Life. Whoa, supply life. Life. All this pain, it just ain't right. Hey, supply and pain, got a life supply. A warehouse full of lies and crap. Gotta sell it out, get rid of that. Hey, supply life. Life. Yeah. Oh, supply life. Life. Death, destruction, overstyle. Guns and wars, God style. A warehouse full of pain and death. Time to change direction and stop the mess. Whoa, supply life. I said life. Supply life. Life.
Yeah, gotta supply life. Live right, sell to our people. Equal chances to get supplies of life. Only subdivides, we be high up life. Yeah, to supply life for the low. Fresh out of the negatives and low blows. But the world grows and we all show some ups and downs, but we all gon' pull up. Pull up, got love, stop. Pull up, restock your needs. No charge, no fee, supply your needs. What you don't see, life supplies these.
Life and love on the loading docks. When we run out, we will restock. Focus full of happiness. It's time to change direction and stop the mess. Whoa, supply life.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Welcome back. We are again really excited to have you all joining us. And for this second half of tonight's program, we will be joined by District 42 Brooklyn District 42's candidate, Wilfredo Florentino. Welcome, Wilfredo.
Thank you so much, Catherine. And thank you to the Council for Arts for getting this event together.
Beautiful. Thank you. It's so good to see you as well. And just like in the first half of tonight's session, we will be asking you to introduce yourself, which will include your name, your pronoun, and a visual description as well. And then you will proceed to answer your questions, in which you will have 90 seconds to do so. All right. So Wilfredo, the city has a qualified legion of teaching artists totaling over 4,500 educators, yet 67% of New York City principals stated that the funding for the arts is generally insufficient. Currently, New York City does not meet the state mandates for arts in every public school, yet arts education in schools has been shown to improve academic and social emotional outcomes for students, especially when provided as an integrated part of the curriculum. What is your plan for the city's school system, and what is your vision for the roles that arts and education plays?
Thank you for the question, Catherine. Again, my name is Wilfredo Florentino. My pronouns are he, him, his, él. I'm a cisgendered gay Black man with a buzzed head, goatee, black rimmed glasses, gray sports coat, and a white t-shirt. I'm a husband, father, U.S. Army veteran, lifelong Brooklynite, and community advocate. The son of immigrants who relied on food stamps and Section 8, dedicated my life to service, from working in grassroots community organizing, city and state government, and the nonprofit sector. With my husband, we founded the only theater company in East Brooklyn that is focused on producing socially relevant theater based on community experiences. And our campaign is focused on ensuring equity, justice, and transparency in how government works for us. To your question, Catherine, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. As a community board member for the past 11 years, I've been a staunch proponent and advocate for our schools, their desegregation, and their equitable funding. A fully funded school system will ensure that each student has the same opportunity, no matter their zip codes. Additionally, as the chair of the Transportation Committee of Community Board 5, I've advocated for safety measures in and around our schools where disproportionate vehicular crashes occur. As a city, we must and absolutely will prioritize STEAM education, which is science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics, which allows students to engage in experiential learning, problem solving, embracing collaboration, and working through the creative process. Additionally, we absolutely have to prioritize higher education, trade schools that would bridge the divide in the disparity that exists in Black and Brown communities like those in the 42nd district. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, the answer to our question. And we will be moving on to District 47. Wilfredo is the only candidate that we have here tonight for District 42. And so we will come back with follow-up questions as well, if you're able to hang around. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Lots going on here. Okay, so next up, we have representing District 47, which covers Bensonhurst, Coney Island, Gravesend, and Seagate. First candidate that we'll be speaking to tonight is Alec Brooke Krasny. And if I did not pronounce that right, please correct me. Thank you so much. Alec, it's nice to see you here tonight. And you're also on mute. You're on mute, Alec. All right. So I will ask.
Okay.
Hi,
Can
Alec.
you hear me now?
We can hear you. So
Wonderful.
I'm going to ask you a question, and once I ask the question, then you can introduce yourself. You'll have 30 seconds to tell everyone your name. You will also be able to introduce your pronouns, and then give a visual description of yourself. And then you will go into answering the question, in which you'll have 90 seconds to do so. All right. So the question that we are asking you tonight from our questionnaire is healthcare. So healthcare, as we know, is a pressing issue for individual artists, cultural workers, and small cultural groups without resources from major coverage plans. This impacts disabled artists, workers, and organizations, in addition to the many people suffering from the effects of COVID. And communities hardest hit by COVID, health outlets are closing. For instance, in Brownsville, Brooklyn, there's been a recent closure announcement of a longstanding family and women's health clinic. What is your plan to address the healthcare needs of the city's many communities? And Alec, you can go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Alec Krasny. I'm running in 47 Consulmatic District. My pronouns is he, him. I wear a blue jacket, and I'm also wearing a navy blue handkerchief, so you'll be able to find me by that. I also possess some slight Russian accent, so you'll be able to hear me well, and and probably I have that distinction. I have to tell you that my understanding that the process of electing people in the city council is like a process of hiring people. So let me say a few words about my resume. And again, thank you for the opportunity to speak, and most importantly for the opportunity to listen. So I'm going to speak for a minute and a half. So I'm a former assemblyman. I spent almost 9 years in New York State Assembly in District 46, extremely diverse district, Queen Island, Bay Ridge, Dyker Heights, etc. And I had an opportunity to vote for single payer in New York State Assembly. So this is something that very interesting to mention, I believe, because we have a lot of different opportunities to present different programs and programs that would provide healthcare to all. But I still believe that we'll have to work on it, and I certainly hope that we'll be able to live up to the point in time where we'll have healthcare for everybody, arts and culture workers included. I spent some 10 years as a small business owner. I created a community center called Panorama. There was a kids entertainment center. I've had many after school programs in that community center besides just the birthday parties on Saturday and Sunday for the kids and the parents. We had a dance school. We have a chess school. We have different schools, and those schools would provide an after-school opportunities for many different kids with
Sorry,
many different
Alec.
backgrounds.
I'm so sorry. Your time
Yeah.
is up.
My resume is too long. I'm sorry.
It's
Okay, thank you
very
very much.
No worries. And you seem very passionate. So, well, we're going
Thank
to come back to you. If you're hanging around, we'll come back with a follow-up question. Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much. So I'm going to go back around to Wilfredo. Wilfredo, if you can unmute yourself, we will ask you a follow-up question. Yes.
Absolutely, still here.
Still hanging around. Okay, great. So we have a question from the family, from the village, from the community, and that question to you is: how will you plan to secure the future for arts organizations in culturally underserved communities?
Yeah, that's a really good question. As an arts advocate and an arts proponent, I have seen personally how integral the arts are in the holistic life of community. not just for entertainment, which unfortunately folks like to focus on the entertainment aspect of arts and culture, which is accurate, but it does so much more for the spirit, the health, and the well-being of community. Unfortunately, we don't center arts when we're talking about rezonings, for example, and that's unfortunate that arts aren't prioritized as that in the midst of that process. And so essentially that is it. We really need to center arts. We need to center a holistic approach to community building and center the voice of community. In our conversations with community, folks don't want to go to 42nd Street or to downtown Brooklyn to engage in arts education or to take their children to a class. I with my husband, we have 2 little girls under the age of 3, and the last thing we want is to leave our community to have to expose them to the arts. And so it is absolutely critical that we center the importance of arts education as as something that is just as important as academics.
Thank you so much for that answer. Thank you, Wilfredo.
Thanks, Kathleen.
All right, so we're going to go next to Rick. All right. Do we have Rick? Is he still around? All right. Okay, great. Hi, Rick. So same question to you, and I'll restate it. The question would be, how do you plan to secure the future of arts organizations in culturally underserved communities?
Again, I think the critical thing is to leverage city funding to invest in contracts for minority artists. If we can get them to certify as minority-owned NWBE businesses, which many artists don't realize that they are eligible for, and expanding the CASA program, right, to link artists to public financing. I think that's the most secure way in the immediate near term to secure the future for artists and arts in schools.
All right. Thank you so much for that response, Rick. All right, and we're going to pose the same question again to, see, is Alex still with us? Okay. All right, Alec, I'll
Yes,
repeat the
and,
question. Do you need me to repeat that, or are you good?
I'm good. I'm fine. I believe that look, we have to leverage arts and culture in school programs. We have to have more after-school programs. I've been a product of after-school programs some 50 years ago back in Soviet Union, and let me tell you, that was one of the most important programs, I believe, in my youth. Because look, arts and culture programs, that's something that would give kids much more than just understanding what arts are about or culture. I started by saying that in my business, I was for-profit business. We had programs for kids in many different areas, after-school programs, and many of them were actually in red financially. But my partners and I, we were helping them. We were helping those programs. We charge less rent. We just, as a small business owners, struggling sometimes, we were trying to provide people in the area, kids in the area, in the past, with the opportunity to have arts and culture after-school programs. I think every one of us should be providing small funding and supporting such organizations. But city, of course. Sometimes I look around and I believe that when we're talking about zoning or rezoning or anything of that nature, unfortunately, the aesthetics of the building are always on the back of our minds.
Sorry, Alec, your time is up. But it's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Hold on. We
All right.
hang
Okay.
around. We'll come back around to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. So we are going to go back to Rick for the next question. And this next question, Rick, comes again from the community. And the question is, what do you need from Brooklyn cultural organizations in order to become a vocal and impactful advocate?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. What do you need? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. What do you need from Brooklyn cultural organizations in order to become a vocal and impactful advocate?
From the organizations themselves.
What do you, yes, from the cultural organization.
I need organizations to really understand that we are facing an enormous crisis in the administration of our housing programs, that they are plagued by deep levels of corruption across 3 major agencies in a way that they have never been in the history of our city. Now, I am not a one-issue candidate, but the concern here is that all focus should be on bringing onto the council, the next city council, people, candidates, council members that have direct experience, know-how in oversight of the administration of government agencies at the city level, particularly managerial experience, because vast waste of resources impacts issues across the board: housing, education, policing, the arts. And it's in a situation that we should no longer tolerate. Okay? $1 billion in fraudulent contracts issued by the Department of Homeland Services within the last couple of years. We should all be shocked at this, and we are not sufficiently shocked at this. And in my view, the current administration is attempting to shift into its power into the next council. And so we should be really concerned about what type of candidate is elected onto the council. We need to change the what is a really 30-year history of housing corruption dominating quietly New York City. It explains our homelessness crisis. It explains the vast, exorbitant prices that the rents have reached in low
I'm
income.
sorry. I'm so sorry, Rick. Your time is up. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. We do have another question, so please hang around. I'm going to ask the same question to Alec. Alec, we can bring him back on. And Alec, I'll just restate the question again. So what do you need from Brooklyn cultural organizations in order to become a vocal and impactful advocate?
That's a great question. Thank you. When I was an assemblyman, and it was from 2007 to 2015, I've been supporting cultural organizations in my district as much as I can. And some people were telling me and advising me to support some other organizations who would be able to help me during the campaigns. Because the people who are supporting arts and culture are rare participants in the primaries. So with that in mind, I like to see more people who are supporting arts and culture to become a voter, to register themselves and participate in the democratic primaries, because we know in the democratic primaries we're going to elect the next city council members. So it would be my distinct pleasure to see more people who are supporting arts and culture as the voters in New York City. I think it's extremely important. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's see. And the next same question we will pose to Wilfredo. Wilfredo, if you can come back with us.
Oh, here.
Hi.
Do you need me to restate or are you good?
No, I'm good. I'm good. But no, it's a great question. Hello?
Yes, you're here. You're good.
Awesome. So it's crucial and critical that the arts and the culture sectors have a central role in conversations around our city's recovery and sustainability. In addition to obviously their ability to provide hope, solace, and even joy during bleak times, the arts can rekindle our economic recovery after the year plus that we've just had. And so ensuring that the arts are part of that discussion is going to be critical and crucial for our recovery as a city.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about what we could do collectively to ensure that our voices are, as organizations, can really center themselves in this process as well?
Yeah, that's a great follow-up. What was that? No, that's a great follow-up. I mean, I think that forums like this one, where we are not just hearing from candidates, but we are hearing from the arts community and having an exchange, right? And so creating this space is absolutely critical for us to gain that understanding that we need y'all as much as you need us, right? This is not something that any one person or any one solution is the way forward, right? And so obviously creating spaces where we have these types of dialogues and that we all understand that the path forward is going to be multifaceted and that we all need to roll up our sleeves. The arts community is included in that. The arts and culture community is included in that, is something that I think will ensure that our path forward is made easier.
Thank you so much for that. Awesome. All right. And so we are up for our last question for the evening. And we are going to begin with Alec. So if Alec can come back, I am going to just get started. So Alec, the last question for tonight is, how would you evaluate proposals for capital projects for the arts in your districts? Are there ways that your office will ensure that cultural capital projects are community informed all the way from design to implementation?
Well, the capital projects, it's a very good question. When I, again, let me just get back to some other experience of mine. I'm also founding executive director for the umbrella non-for-profit organization for the Russian-speaking community in New York City. I started that organization right after September 11 in 2001. Now it's a big organization with about 50 organizations under that umbrella. A few of them are very interesting arts organizations. One of them is a step theater, by now is well known in New York City. And they started around the same time that I started Kajak, the organization that I'm talking about. And when I was trying to provide people with some access to the capital, I would definitely look at the operational expenses and their ability to stay within the operational expenses or within the budget. Why I'm saying it? Because sometimes we're providing walls to the organizations, and those organizations that just starting to do some programs inside those walls. I would rather see the organization that's started to do a real work with providing expenses and maybe some revenue, some organizations that's already operational. And I would provide a capital funding to the organizations which already would be operational. In my understanding, that's the way to create an organization with a real substance and ability to pay
All right.
for the rules that we created with the capital budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Alec. We appreciate you. That resume. All right. So we have next up, will be Wilfredo. And the same question. Fredo, if you're still here, okay, great. I'll restate the question for you. Yes. All right. So how would you evaluate proposals for capital projects for the arts in your districts? Are there ways that your office will ensure that capital projects are community informed all the way from design to implementation?
Yeah, that's a great question, Catherine. Unfortunately, in our community, participatory budgeting is not something that we have ever had. And, our campaign from day one has been incredibly focused on ensuring that, our platform and those things that we are promoting and supporting are not promoted and supported because one person, the candidate, wants it this way. No, it is an absolutely collaborative process with community and ensuring that community leads the conversation. And that's something that has not happened in our community, has never happened in our community. And that's the type of imbalance that we're trying to change through our campaign and through our movement building work. As it relates to budgetary priorities, the community is going to dictate the budgetary priorities. It will not be a candidate or an elected official in the bubble of their district office or in the bubble of those folks around them who are yes folks, but in a inclusive bubble that includes the entire community to ensure that those items that we are promoting and supporting are really grassroots led. And in our conversations, unfortunately, spoiler alert, Artists New York is one of our vanguard arts organizations, and supporting organizations like Artists New York and all of the other arts organizations in our community is something that has not been a priority, has never been a priority, and that is something that must change so that we can move forward from where we are right now. And our community has been clamoring for more arts education, more arts opportunities, but unfortunately, those opportunities have not come to the people that have desperately needed it and been asking for it.
Thank you so much, Wilfredo. Thank you for that answer. And we are going to pose the very same question to Rick, last but not least. All right. Rich, should I restate the question for you?
Oh, thank you. I got this one. So on an evaluation point, I would put together an advisory panel on all development projects, a community advisory panel to advise me on all development projects. But as a value point for me, on evaluating particularly capital projects, do the organizations have community roots with specific metrics for determining that standard? If it's a nonprofit, are the board of directors majority people of color who have some history in the community or in the district? Are the executive staff people of color who have history and roots in the community? Those are major points for me, because I think often in our communities, particularly in New York City, we are used as lower staff, people of color, or our data is used, right? The mission and purpose of the project cites data related to our condition of life, but we, people of color, are not in de facto leadership positions within organizations or companies, private companies that get capital investment or nonprofit investment. So that would be my main point of evaluation: community roots, people of color led.
Thank you so much, Rick. We appreciate it. And we appreciate you all for being here, for taking the time to really speak about your commitment to arts and culture in our communities throughout Brooklyn. And I'm just again very happy to be a part of this process, and really look forward to seeing you all help New York City communities grow. And I will pass it on to closing out tonight's session with the founding director, I believe, Lucy Sexton for New Yorkers for Culture and Arts. Lucy, you can take it away.
Thank you so much, Catherine and Bolly Green Johnson, for hosting this candidate forum. You are an incredible arts leader for our city, founding Arts East New York and continuing to do so much work. So thank you for being with us, and we look forward to seeing what you're doing next. Thanks to all the candidates, not only for being here, but also for running. It's so important that we, step forward as artists, as leaders, as people in our communities to step forward and say, yes, I should also lead. So thank you for doing that. I want to thank our ASL interpreters, Jessica Ames and Kim Melchert, and my New Yorkers for Culture and Arts team, which has been producing this series of city council candidate forums across the 5 boroughs. That's Regine Peters and Matt Chilton. It's Melanie Green, Lori Berg, and Tara Sheena. I also want to thank all of our cultural partners who joined with us in this forum. It is really important that the people who would like to lead us know that there are cultural organizations in each of the districts, and I look forward to working with you to continue that dialogue with whoever does win these city council seats. We had beautiful music by Brooklyn-based artist Thomas Piper with the rapper Zoe Tabari. I also want to tell everybody that we have more forums coming up. On Thursday, there'll be a forum for Upper Manhattan, and next week for Queens. That's all available on our website. And if you want to look at the answers that these candidates gave to our questionnaires, it is posted on our website, so you can go there. And you can also, if you want to share this video with someone you think, oh, they should have seen it, those videos will be posted. We have them on YouTube. So if there's people in your neighborhood, in your community that you want to share this with, we would really welcome that. And most importantly, we want to tell you to vote. Get registered. The last day to register to vote in the primary is May 28th. Get your friends to register. Make sure that we get out there and vote, because as one of the candidates said tonight, the June primary will likely determine who will lead us in city council next year. So please get out there and vote in June. Thanks so much to everyone, and have a great night. Stay safe.
Turn it around, turn it around. Turn it around, turn it around.
Been complaining, man, this life is draining. Hey, start saving for a change. Change your crew, make good for you. Move to another space, or rearrange. See, you can turn your life around. Permission, you don't need to change. You can turn your life around today. See, you can turn your life around. Permission, you don't need to change. You can turn your life around today. Passion leaving out your skin, it's bleeding. Took your love.